So every small business needs a rainy day fund. When you're looking to open a business, that's the point when you're really looking for financing. I need it so bad. And then when you're on top, you don't think about that so much, but you really want to lend that future you, lend them some money now. There's going to be a dip. I guarantee you there's going to be a dip. I don't care if you are Apple or you're Google or, God forbid, Amazon. Their stock goes up and down. Yours is going to as well. So you want to have that rainy day fund. Ideally, it's 4 to 6 months of total expenses. So if something happened, you could weather that storm, because I guarantee your competitors are not doing that. So if you can do that, that is going to give you a huge leg up. One of the biggest problems that I see with small business owners are they started their business out of their garage on a shoestring budget, and they were writing checks out of their personal bank account. And then eventually it evolved into a business account. And out of that business account, they're paying for their groceries on the way home, and they're paying for their cars. And you can have some of that stuff. There's a name for it in business. It's seller discretionary earnings. But you want to make it as few and far between as possible. You want to separate personal and business. And I'm telling you, when you go to get financing, it's going to be much easier. When you go to sell your business eventually, it's going to be much easier. You really want to treat those as two very separate things when it comes down to credit cards, when it comes to writing checks. Give yourself a W-2 if needed, or give yourself dividends. Your accountant can help you with that on what's going to be most advantageous, but you want to keep those two separate. There are so many mistakes that small business owners make when they go and apply for a loan. When you have a level of revenue that's $5 million or below, there's certain institutions that they're not going to look at you. You don't exist to them. So I have people call me up and say, I went to this big bank and they said no, and I went to that big bank and I said no, and I went to that big bank and they said no. And I kind of chuckle, because you never were going to get funding from them. Oftentimes we'll get the call at that point here at IBC, and we say, okay, no problem. It was never going to be the case where they were going to fund you. But do you have all of your ducks in a row? Do you have your personal financial statement done? Do you have all your tax returns ready? Have you pulled your personal credit to look at it to see what it's going to look like when you submit it? Do you have a rent roll if we're looking at commercial investment real estate? At that point, generally, there is a glaze that goes across the client's eyes, and no, I don't have any of that. No problem, but you can't go into battle without the weapons you're going to need to succeed. So we're going to help you through all of that. It's what we do every single day. So all of those common mistakes, we'll wipe all those away. We'll prep you and get you ready for financing. So there are several red flags that a lender will have when they're looking at a file. And it's funny, I oftentimes talk about, and unfortunately had this conversation yesterday with the lender, talking about a loan that I submitted. And it was, well, it would be okay if it was just this, or it would be okay if it was just that. We call it death by 1,000 cuts. So, if, the credit's not right where it should be, or, their outside income, that would be better if they were going to keep their job. Well, maybe they need another investor so they have enough capital to run this company after closing. So if it's one of those things, we can work on that. We can get them an investor. We can work on their credit beforehand. But when it's all of those things, that's when it's a problem. That's when lenders say, you know what, it's just not going to work. So we want to make sure we take down as many of those red flags. So that's what we do at IBC. When you come see us, we're going to, I always say it's like being in a confessional. Tell me everything. We're going to look at it. We're going to put it in its best light. We're never going to be disingenuous to a lender, but we want to make sure we have as few of those red flags as possible when we submit the loan for financing. So we found over the years, and we put it out in our marketing, and it tends to be a throwaway line, but it's really important. It's not a one-size-fits-all business when it comes to lending. So there are institutions out there that make a lot of money when certain loans are sold on the secondary market. So interestingly enough, everybody that walks through the bank's front doors ends up in that loan portfolio. Doesn't have to be the case. When you come to IBC, We are a broker, which means we have relationships with every lending institution that you could possibly need. We have lending institutions that we send a lot of business to, so they'll give us preferred pricing. So we'll look at your specific situation, your specific business. What do you need? How much do you need? And then what's going to be the best program that fits your financing needs? We'll get you that. And then in a couple of years, when you need something bigger or different, we'll take care of that as well. But we're never going to put you into something that you don't need. Let's talk about some basic business financing tips. So when you're going out for financing, you don't want to just run out and say, hey, I want some money. You want to prep first. Like anything else, you want to look at your situation. Do I have enough liquidity? Okay, well, if I don't, how am I going to solve that? Well, you might want to go to an investor. It could be friends or family. It could be a Kickstarter. But a lender is going to want to see if something goes bad, that you'll be able to weather that storm. So you want to have some post-closing liquidity. You want to make sure your personal credit score is ideally at a 700 plus. Get away with 680, but really strive for that 700. And don't go out for financing until you do a couple of these things, because you don't want to burn those bullets on going out to your most likely financing sources, having them say no. Now you're going to people who probably wouldn't finance you. So look at your credit score, look at your post-closing liquidity, make sure that you have all of your financials set. So if you have an accountant, go to them, make sure everything's reconciled, all of your previous year's taxes are filed, your year-to-date income statement and balance sheet is up to date. If you don't have an accountant, call IBC and we can help you find one, but certainly go get one and make sure that all of those ducks are in a row. Think of it, if you are on the other side of that table asking for that loan, what are the things that really you would look at? You want to know that you can be paid back. So knowing that you have a good credit score, knowing that you have some good post-closing liquidity, knowing that you were able to put together a decent package coming in looking for financing, that all goes to show that you are a good bet for financing. So put them in a position, them being the lenders, where they can't say no to you. Make sure you have your ducks in a row, and obviously IBC can help you with that. Getting started is simple. All you have to do is go to our website, indbusinessconsulting.com, fill out the Contact Us form, and we'll get back to you right away.